As I said when I came in, you are amazing, New Zealand, because you went and did something that nowhere else in the world has done. You've actually allowed the professionals to access treatment to offer to people who smoke. This is the ABC. A lot of you, if you haven't already done it tonight, after tonight will go online and become ABC providers. And you've heard a lot from Hayden about how safe it is and what a number of lives we can save. So there is it. But the other thing I asked you was, what are the roadblocks? So what I'm now going to do is look at, you've got the training, you've got the quick card, and the smokers telling you they don't even smoke, or they're saying one thing and doing another. So that's where we're starting off. Now then, it's not just smokers. Liposuction or diet? Come on, tell me the truth. Everybody wants fast, quick fixes in the society we live in. It's sort of pushed, you know. I don't want to do any work, but I would like to look like a supermodel. And that's just how it goes. And I think that's our society. So when you quite rightly heard somebody say how hard work it was, and I haven't got the time to do all that work now, everybody realizes that to make a major change requires a lot of effort. So here we are, being professional. I've got some cartoons. And we are absolutely charged and enthusiastic to give good advice. But sometimes professional persuasion doesn't make people decide to stop smoking. It makes them decide to come and see somebody else at the practice next time, not you, okay? And this is what people hear. So you are really working hard to give people advice, but actually you know that they're not listening. They're there in body. So it's very tempting to be helpful by telling people the urgency. You know, the person you talked about in occupational health, they've already had a serious issue. We really don't want that to come back. Stop smoking. But often it increases their resistance. They kind of get a bit argumentative with you. So I've done some cartoons for this. So here you go. You have got advice, knowledge, expertise, and treatment. They have got something you don't have. They've got reasons for being a smoker, and you don't know what they are. And the minute you offer your support, they offer you chapter and verse on why smoking is important, and you're trying to kill them by making them stop. Look at this in pregnancy. Here's an absolute classic example. I didn't mean to smoke when I was pregnant, but now I am, and I've never really not been a smoker. I've just smoked ever since I was a teenager, and I'm pregnant. So the thing that's new is the pregnancy. There was never a decision required to quit smoking before then, but now it's written on the packs. One of my neighbours had a bit of a go at me, but my partner smokes. I've never tried to not smoke, and I know that I feel very stressed even the thought of it, and yet I'm really worried about the baby. So here we have somebody with a human dilemma. They've got reasons on one side for pressure, they've got reasons on the other that just seems like it's too big a mountain to climb. And that's where we could come in and just have a conversation that might go something like, what have you heard about smoking in pregnancy? Really, rather than telling someone you really must stop, but what have you heard about it? What are you planning to do during this pregnancy? And then here, because a lot of people say I'd like to cut down. And when you hear somebody say I'd like to cut down, what it means is I know there's something that's not 100% with smoking, but I'm not sure I've got it in me to quit. Maybe I can do some good by cutting down. Now, you know, if you were cutting down on the calories, it probably would do some good, cutting down on alcohol. But guess what happens with smoking? The smoker compensates by sucking really hard on the cigarettes they allow themselves to keep, and the actual levels do not drop. So it's a false cutting down in smoking. So what I'm going to implore you to do is when someone tells you they've cut down, instead of trying to sort of look for some good and say, oh, that's good and well done, because we're trying to encourage them to do the right thing, instead say, what made you decide to cut down? Just to find out what it is about smoking that's leaving them with some uncomfortable feelings, and to give them a chance to express it. Because quite often people who smoke do not express to us what they don't like about it. They're incredibly defensive because unfortunately we can be perceived as the health police. You know, give us an inch like you've got a bit of a cough and you'll take a mile and tell them they've got to stop smoking. And this is the problem really. People want to hold on to it and they think we don't understand that for them it's really important. So sometimes conversations are, what made you decide to cut down? How many were you smoking before? How many now? Gosh, that's really hard to do that, and it sounds like you want to make a difference. That's the sort of thing you can say that's supportive, but not well done, because that's been proven to keep people at cutting down and not make any attempts to quit, which in pregnancy is what we're aiming to do. So we're pushing to try and get people to stop altogether, but if we say well done about cutting down, they think they don't need to do any further effort. That's just an interesting point on that. So here we go, we've got them giving us their reasons, but you know what, we don't give in very easily as professionals. We say, why don't you try this? What about that? And have you ever noticed there's something I call the yes but tennis match? You are trying to persuade them of a benefit, and they're explaining why it's not the good time at the moment. Some of you said it to me, or I'm stressed, or I've got so many problems at the moment. That's what people are telling you, and you are the one getting worn out. So let me explain it to you like this. Everybody who smokes has got a reason and an understanding. The problem is we know they overestimate the benefits and underestimate the dangers. That's why the health professionals have been given the work, because we're often there in the moment when there's a deteriorating health condition. We're there when the second problem comes in, or when a prognosis is made about something that's going wrong, like a lung disease or circulatory disease. But the person has a watertight umbrella, and the watertight umbrella stops an awful lot of the routine messages. There's a background noise about the benefits of stopping smoking. You can't even buy a pack of cigarettes without getting it in your face with a picture and a warning. So the person has a belief system which protects them, and we sometimes are just another drop of rain that's coming down. So what I want to try and get it to happen is that our drops become quite powerful, and they come quite powerful when we can shake, and Hayden used the expression create tension. We want them to be less confident in their decision that smoking's good. We want them to have some concerns about it. We want to get inside that umbrella rather than just constantly saying the things that just bounce off. So, but they will only change when they're ready. So we need to keep on putting messages in, but the messages we give are personal ones. It might be, if you're a practice nurse, this is the 3rd time you've been this year for a chest infection that's needed antibiotics. It's unusual that someone can't get over it themselves. This is because you smoke. Or your blood pressure is really hard to manage because you're a smoker. So you see something, a deterioration in a breathing condition, and you link it to the truth, which is about smoking. They are not able to just distance it so easily when it's their blood pressure, their circulatory system, their toes that are going sort of blue and with the cold. So this example, because I come across it all the time, because I have to interview people often who are quite ill from smoking to get stories for our testimonial approach to get people to quit. This gentleman I met in a head and neck cancer ward, he said that he had always known smoking was dangerous. And I said to him, did you ever think anything could happen to you? He said, I knew it could because my father died of lung cancer. And I said, and yet you smoked? He said, yes, my father died at 60, and on my 40th birthday, that was going to be my last cigarette. He had an umbrella with a watertight belief system. If I stop by 40, I will not get what happened to my dad happened to me. And the poor man, and he was unlucky, he got throat cancer, which is happening to younger and younger people, we're noticing. So there he is, planning to give up, would not listen to anything anyone had said to him, was a fit, healthy man, was a builder, had no health problems. And then this happened. And I think you'll find, if you ask people, do you think anything could happen to you because of smoking? You'll be interested to hear that they do actually know it's dangerous. And asking questions in a different way can coax out of them something which might leave them feeling a little less confident to be remaining smokers. So no one changes what they're going to do without thinking it's a good idea. None of you are suddenly going to go and move to cold, wet England, because you can see I'm really pushing it here. Just because someone says that's a good idea, you would really think about it a lot. You would perhaps go and look at your finances. You would just work out what the cost of living would be. There would be an awful lot of things you would process before you even made a decision. But it could be a nice idea. And you might even sort of, get a book on it or something like that. But there's an awfully long journey to go from having an idea to actually emigrating. And I think what we're looking at with smoking is some of the time our work is not just at the point where they've said, yes, I'd like to quit, and we give the treatment and support. It's along the way, helping them with signposts, with details, with information, so that they are gradually growing in the idea that there's a benefit of stopping smoking. And for some people, this might be a 10, 20-year journey. But it's not a journey that we need to give up on just because everybody we speak to doesn't choose immediately to quit. And if you could plant some seeds, you are then having something in the future that's a harvest, maybe for the colleagues that follow in your footsteps. But our job is to constantly plant seeds of change and to water them each time we see someone with another new fact or a question. Because as you heard, I've been doing some work around the country. One practice nurse said to me, well, I never tell them off. I just make sure they've got life insurance. I thought, what a brilliant idea. She was quite funny. So I just thought, yeah, she's always saying to me, well, if you're smoking, I hope you've got life insurance for your family. And I thought, well, that's a different approach. But you see, it was something very different to what people were expecting. And you get quite a few of those. Right, now, just look at this. I put a sort of sheet up here. Imagine then something you would like to change yourself, change what it is. And then on one side of the page, you've got the advantages of doing nothing, staying the same. And on the other side of the page, the disadvantages of not making a change because you don't get this thing you want. So say there's something you really want, like to save up for a nice holiday or to get fitter or to change the garden into a veggie patch. You know, it could be something you want. When you actually think about it for a few moments, you'll see that even if you want it, if it's not painful, isn't an addiction, you quite often are not ready just to go and do it. There'll be things that need to be sorted. There might be someone who has to help you. There might be another commitment you've got you'll have to say goodbye to. So when you actually come to thinking, yes, I want to do it, but then you analyse what actually has to happen in your world to be free to do that thing, you'll see there are many little things that come up which you may not even realise come up until the time when you do it. So just when someone makes a decision that they want to stop smoking, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to carry it out. They may go home with a quick card in their pocket and suddenly sit down, and the whole enormous change it means that they've got to go through, particularly if the family are smoking, and it might just seem a step too far at that moment. And we know an awful lot more quick cards are given to people than turn up at pharmacies. So there's a gap between their will and their desire and their ability to put it into action. And that's not surprising, is it? Because we think of any changes we want to make, the reality is, oh, I'm not sure, when it actually comes down to it.